Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button and the share button. And please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Man. And welcome to Thursday's edition of the DC Multiverse Daily. I'm so very sorry to the loyal watchers of my channel and this video that I have to bring up this kind of debate between theatre systems and straight to streaming first release blockbusters. But Patty Jenkins has done this because she has tweeted and reacted to the rumours that Wonder Woman 84 will go straight to streaming. I will read the tweet out. I'm infuriated by the tweet, by the way, and her attitude. Respect her as a great director. Love Wonder Woman 84 and all of that. But we have to talk about this and we have to tear this agenda down. So let's read this. I would rather be talking about the DC movies and TV shows. But they're holding these movies hostage and saying they won't let us watch them until the pandemic's over, till they can get the same amount of people in cinema as they did pre-COVID, right? So what's the point of talking about these projects, right? Well, we can't even see them. Anyway, this all starts from an account called Wonderboy84 saying this. Told ya, WW84 will be released in theatres and streaming platforms on Christmas Day worldwide. He's quote tweeting GiantFreakAndRobots.com's article, Wonder Woman 1984 will go direct to streaming. Patty quote tweets. Correct. Direct to streaming is not even being discussed. We are still 100% behind the theatrical experience for Wonder Woman 84 and supporting our beloved theatre business. Tell me something, Patty. How are you supporting your beloved theatre business when you won't allow, or the studios will not allow, for the actual content and the product to be sold by the theatres? That's not supporting the theatre system. That's saying, you know what? It's up to us when you get this film, and you can just shut your doors, and when we say it's okay, you can reopen again. How is that supporting the system? Is any studio financially supporting the theatre chains? No. So tell me, Patty, how are you and Warner Media supporting the theatrical business? You are not. In fact, Patty, by you, let's not say you, by Warner Media and the other studios saying, well, they're not going to come out in their droves to watch these movies, right? As we saw, Tenet has made 300 million globally, amazing in a pandemic, but crap money. It's not good enough, right? So they know it's not viable right now. So what do? Instead of having pay-per-view straight to streaming, where they make the same amount of money they would have done pre-COVID in theatres, they're saying, no, we are trying to protect the theatrical system. But you know what's so stupid about this? Nobody is saying to delete, right, the theatrical system. We're saying for now, let's release these first to view blockbusters on pay-per-view streaming until the pandemic can be controlled. And I've had this discussion with you, and I hate repeating myself, but this does have to be discussed. She's made it a discussion. I do think it's quite odd, actually, how she kind of responds. She says, correct. But actually, the thing she's quote tweeting says, told ya, WW84 will be released in theatres and streaming platforms on Christmas Day. But she goes to say correct. So what's correct? That it's being released globally in theatres and straight to streaming. But then she contradicts herself and says, we are still 100% behind the theatrical experience for Wonder Woman 84 and support our beloved theatre business. Bollocks. She goes, direct to streaming is not even being discussed. How can it not be being discussed, Patty? So you people are just going to carry on spending hundreds of millions of dollars on your product and then not sell it. COVID has changed the world. I believe COVID has changed the world forever in some kind of substance, right? People may never go back to the theatres like they did pre-COVID. What are you going to do? How long are you going to wait? Is Wonder Woman 84 going to be 10 years old before we see it because you want to protect the theatrical system, which you don't? You are not protecting the theatrical business. You, my friends, are killing it. Warner Media, Universal, all of you. Cancelling films, cancelling films, cancelling films. So it seems to me that she says direct to streaming is not even being discussed. Now, I think that this guy, she quote tweets, is correct. I think it will go theatrical and it will go streaming globally all at the same time. I think the December the 26th date or 25th or wherever it is will stick, and I think they will do both things. I think this is where we're going. So it's a bit of an odd... I'm a bit confused, but I'm triggered by what she said, but I'm also kind of confused because the guy's saying it's going theatrical and straight to streaming at the same time, and she's going, correct, direct to streaming is not even being discussed, but this guy goes, will be released in theatres and streaming platforms. So it seems to me, without saying anything, she's pretty much saying in a way that it is going streaming, but it's going cinema as well. They're going to release it both ways. And by the way, this is the future of cinema, because it's pretty clear that you're not going to get the bodies in theatres to make $800 to $1 billion globally anymore. So this is the new system of doing it. Now, it's still a gamble, but listen, we are in the middle of a pandemic and we can't keep on living in denial. I've said this so many times, it's boring, but it is a debate. It's a vital, interesting debate to discuss, especially for us DC fans, because we had 3 or 4 movies delayed again. And there's no need to delay these projects. The production of them, the filming of them, the making of them, the recording of the sound effects and the music is all being done. That's not being delayed. And obviously, if there's a problem with testing, they stop for 2 weeks and they go back again. That as well as the new normal. Fine, right? Fine. We can understand that. But none of us can understand these constant delays. With the quote tweet, we want to protect the theatre business. But you're not. Over 500 cinemas have already closed, Patty. So where's the protection? Tell me, Patty, please tell me. Please tell me. Now, if this is true by this guy, that it will be released, and she's saying correct. So when she says direct to streaming is not even being discussed, does this actually mean, as I've already said, that it's not purely going to go direct to streaming, but it will be streaming and with a cinematic release at the same time? I think that's the way they're going to go with it. But to say that you want to protect the theatre business is a lie. It's a lie. The only reason these films ain't being released in cinemas now is because they can't get the bodies. It's all about money. Now, the films belong to them. It's up to them when they release them. But from the outside looking in, if you're spending hundreds of millions, and let's be fair here, projects are being announced for the cinema every day, for the theatrical experience every day, even though they know that they can't release them solely in theatres. So it looks like Wonder Woman 84 will, in fact, be released for cinema release and streaming at the same time. And without saying that, that's what she meant. So I think you shouldn't misunderstand what she was trying to say. But in terms of her coming out like the big I am, saying they're protecting the theatre business, no, I'm sorry. You are not protecting the theatre business. You are hurting it, and these cancellations should stop. You must use cinemas where possible, of course. We want the theatrical business to be protected. I want the studios to create a financial package to look after these people, right? They won't, by the way. We know Trump's government won't either, but someone has to do something. I think if it is going streaming and cinematic release at the same time, I think it's a bold experiment. I think it's a good idea. And I think if Tenet could do 300 million, right, at the global box office, then I think Wonder Woman 84 can double that at least. Maybe 600-700 million. So that's still a good day at the office for Warner Media. But I think it can go beyond that, because I've said before, you can't sit there saying to me that straight to streaming can't make the same money as theatres do pre-COVID, when all you have to do is sit there, press a button, and direct to your bank account, they subtract $20 or $30, euros or sterling or whatever. You know, these are arguments from people who want to preserve the system pre-COVID, right? Things will change. We will be able to see things in cinema and on streaming, and it's your decision. It's your decision. And on streaming, you won't be able to keep it. It will be a one and done situation. Then they'll be released for you to keep, about 3 to 6 months later, as it should be. So things will change a little bit because no one is actually suggesting that we get rid of cinemas. But unfortunately, as we go in the next 10 or 20 years, yes, cinemas will be futile. Less and less people will go to cinemas. And that is a very, very sad thing. And is it progress? I don't know. I wouldn't like to call it progress. I like the system of watching it in a cinema and being able to own it on DVD or Blu-ray or 4K. I like that system. It's a good system. But the world has changed by something we could do nothing about. And we must change with it. So, Zack Snyder, apparently, if rumours are true, is back on production of his Justice League movie. Now, how exciting is that, everyone? Really, really exciting. So, we were teased the other day, but I don't know. Snyder's not really saying too much at the moment. Hasn't been on Vero for, I think, about a week or so. Maybe I'm wrong there. Comments down below if I am wrong. But yes, apparently the rumours were that he would go back to doing his additional photography shoot. I think what has to happen actually is before you start shooting, because of COVID, you all have to be in the same bubble for a couple of weeks. Then all get tested. Then you can start doing it. So I'm not sure if they're just in the bubble right now or actually they've gone back to work. But we were told sometime in October this would be happening. So if they're not physically shooting right now, they will be in a couple of weeks anyway. And we're still in this situation where we don't really know what he's adding. We know he has to do the Martian Manhunter, the actor's part of the Martian Manhunter situation as well. So that will have to be shot. I've discussed with you that cliffhangers have to be shot as well for the end of each episode. This is something that he spoke to Walter Hamada and Jim Lee about, so that's definitely happening as well. It's going to be interesting to know if he's actually shooting anything that changes the narrative that he's already got in the film. There's so many rumours about Ryan Reynolds, but we really don't know. I will tell you this, though. Anyone who gets given $70 million to do additional photography, some small films, that's how a whole independent movie costs 30 to 60 million to make, right? So that's they have given him a lot of money. So, there's going to be changes. There's going to be additions to this film. There's things that he couldn't do before because they wouldn't let him that he's clearly going to do now. And I think it is about doing the scary idea that they wanted to do at the beginning. And I think that's a really, really good thing. Ultimately, we're told this is a 4-hour movie in 4 parts. And so maybe it's a case of him cutting some bits out from his original cut and adding the bits he originally wanted to put in. So back then, he had to compromise, so they rewrote the script. So maybe he's rewrote it again to put those bits back in. That probably sounds a lot more like what he's attempting to do, and I'm absolutely all for that. With all these delays in cinematic movies, it is all about Zack Snyder's Justice League. And, HBO Max and Warner Media and AT&T will be relying on this film heavily, not just for what it's going to do for HBO Max, but what it will do in Blu-ray sales as well. And we know there's going to be 2 or 3 versions of this film, a black and white version, a total version that in movie form, not in TV series form as well. So it's going to be TV series form, black and white, and then put together as one film. So there's a lot of investment going into this one film because they know this film has become really their only hope. So that's something extremely exciting as well. It's a kind of weird time because Zack Snyder's Justice League is really the only thing we can look forward to right now. Now, we were always getting Flashpoint in 2022. It's just been delayed till the end of the year. So, again, I'll say that's a placeholder because if they were to move it again, you're looking at 2023. And how can I be excited about a film that I can't see till 2023? It's a bit like Shazam, right? Fury of the Gods. Can't see that movie now till 2023. It is ridiculous that, but this is what I'm saying. Once you delay one film, then you have to delay the ones that come after it. It's a domino effect. And what they're doing is they're digging themselves deeper and deeper. And it's clear now, projects that are straight to streaming are winners. As I've said before, I can't remember a movie that Netflix has put back, or a TV series that they've said, we've got to delay this. Everything's coming. That would say that Netflix never stopped production, even during the pandemic in early this year when it was really bad. I can't prove that, by the way, but it does seem a bit suspicious where there seems to be no cancellations and nothing to their schedule has really been hampered or damaged. Maybe one or two projects, but not many. And so, look, whether you like it or not, streaming is the future. They can make these things and put it straight on their platform with no danger to anyone. And these are the platforms that will make big. And it is a shame about cinemas, but cinemas have been dying for many, many years. But I just feel that COVID's speeding up the process. That is a shame. They will always be there in some form, like your record player that you don't use anymore, your cassette player. They will be there, but we will move on from them, I'm afraid. Even the people who's obsessed with the cinematic experience, you will move on. You will go with the technology. As I say, it doesn't make me happy, but what can we do as people? Keep on going to the cinema, sitting there with masks to preserve this? It doesn't make sense, does it? When we have the tech to watch it from our own homes. When COVID is contained, then we can really try hard to preserve this system. But I think it's dying. It's difficult. I think Hollywood want to look like they're trying to preserve that experience because they know the consumer would go mad if they just said, nah, streaming now. So they've got to pretend. But they know the money's there. Streaming is where it is now. Pay-per-view is where it is on these first-run movies. And they can't avoid that anymore. And this is the beauty of Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's a 4-part, streaming miniseries that people have been waiting for nearly 3 years. By the time it'll be 3 or 4 years by the time we see it next year. Don't ask me about my maths. I'm not very good at it. But basically, this is a project we're going to see in the first quarter of 2021. We should be excited. We're getting a Justice League movie. Not a shitty one that's been cut down and Superman's face has been hacked to death. We're going to see a Justice League movie, an epic Justice League movie with all the bells and whistles. A movie that actually will have everything. We'll have everything. A movie that will not be tampered with. A movie that has the writer-director's proper vision in it. Now, I don't know any other DC. I don't know about any other DC fans, but I think that's the most amazing thing ever. Yes, finally today we talk about Brett Culp. Now, we all remember Brett, right? He did this amazing Batman versus Superman video. Brett is a director. He's a very compassionate man. He believes in kindness, and he's an amazing talker. And once this guy starts talking, I never want him to stop. Now, he did a Batman versus Superman video back in 2016 when a lot of people were hating on it. It was difficult for us to state our love for this film, so he did it for us. He found a way to channel everything we wanted to say. It was an amazing video. Now Brett's done a sequel to this video, and this one may be even better than his original. Take a listen to this.
I was recently watching the extended cut of one of my all-time favorite movies, and there was a line that stood out near the end that I had never noticed before, hadn't quite heard this way, and it's from Wonder Woman.
We have to stand together.
Man made a world where standing together is impossible.
That was a gut punch to me, and it made me feel like I needed to say something to you today. I have never ever posted about politics or shared my political views on social media. It's just something I have never done. And I'll tell you, I'm a little nervous about it. I'm a little anxious. I'm anxious that I won't be able to say what I intend to say. And I'm anxious that maybe you won't be able to hear what I intend to say. I am asking for grace today that both of us can accomplish that purpose. I hesitated to do this, but my 18-year-old son encouraged me to. And I'm trying more and more to listen to his advice these days. He's a wise young man. I have spent the last many years of my life immersed in superhero stories. My two favorite are Batman and Superman, and I, in fact, made 2 documentary films about those characters and what they mean to me and what the heart of those characters is. I think we are drawn to these characters because they are driven by their beliefs. They're driven by their values, and they are willing to do hard and difficult things, to take action, to live out those values in very real and tangible ways. I've grown up with these characters. I have them in my DNA, really, and I've watched and read and listened to stories about them my whole life. A few years ago, a movie came out that was the first time those 2 characters had been on screen together in a major motion picture, and that movie was Batman vs. Superman. If you've known me for very long, you know that I am a fan of this film. And to share my heart with you today, I actually want to tell you a story, and I want to use the story of this film. So hang with me for just a minute. This is not going to be a soundbite. I need to explain where I'm coming from here, and I want to do it with one of my favorite superhero stories, Batman vs. Superman. Batman, who, as legendary we know, was traumatized in his youth through the loss of his parents, the loss of his family. And in a moment then in his adult life, he is traumatized again by the loss of another family in a building that is destroyed. His business family, his work family, his partnerships are destroyed. And that devastates him. And that sense deep within him, those wonderfully held beliefs about justice and about compassion and about working hard to bring light into the world, they are transformed into bitterness and anger and vengeance, and he loses himself.
That's how it starts. The fever, the rage, the feeling of powerlessness that turns good men cruel.
Superman, this other iconic character, raised on a farm in the Midwest by parents of super high values, in fact, a father who was willing to even die to live out his values and beliefs. And yet Superman comes to a place where the world is in some ways rejecting him. Not everyone, but it kind of feels like everyone. Why? Because throughout this movie, he's watching the news. He's reading the newspapers. He's seeing the headlines. He's hearing these terrible words spoken against him by a handful of people that really cause him to doubt himself and to lose himself in the process.
Headline: End of love affair with man in the sky? Question mark.
Let the record show that this committee holds him responsible.
And thus they are set up for a manipulator to come in and to use them for his own power-grabbing schemes. And that person is Lex Luthor. And he starts to use the media and all types of different scenarios to take these closely held values of these 2 superheroes and to weaponize them, to force them to grow in their confusion, in their anger, in their sense of disconnection and their hatred, and forces them to fight against each other. The fanboy battles that many people had visualized in their mind for years and years about what this epic confrontation between these two superheroes would be, it really doesn't feel very epic and very exciting and exhilarating when you watch it. In fact, it's kind of depressing. And if you felt depressed watching these two guys fight, I think you were supposed to. I think that's the way it was supposed to feel, to watch them fight each other. Now, if you're wondering, as we think about this knockdown, drag out, and the way this was billed as Batman versus Superman, if I'm going to, in this video, line up these candidates for president right now and say that one of them is Batman and one of them is Superman, you're going to be disappointed, because I'm not going to do that. In fact, my feeling is, my belief is, that if I were to take these political machines and many of these media outlets, they're actually the Lex Luthor of the story. They are using the values of the many, many people in the United States to manipulate them, to force them into battles with each other. They are using the media. They are using all kinds of different things so that they actually don't have to have meaningful debates and discussions on stage. The point was never that anyway. It was ultimately to create a collection of memes so that everyone else could fight their battles for them on some.
And there you have it. There's lots more to that video there, but we need to discuss this and what Brett has said. Brett has knocked it out the park. Brett has hit it there. Superman and Batman are not Trump and Biden or Trump and Clinton. Basically, Batman and Superman are us. They're us. We have been manipulated by Lex Luthor, Trump, the media. And it's worked, hasn't it? You go onto Twitter and you see people arguing with hatred, right, with no real diplomatic political debate. It's about insults. One person's a Trump supporter, the other person's a Biden supporter or a Hillary supporter or whatever, right? And it comes down to hate every time. They've won. They've manipulated us. They've turned us into their machine. Exactly what Luthor does to Batman and Superman. He manipulates them into fighting. These two had no reason to fight at the beginning of the film. But through things that Luthor does to both of them, by convincing them that's the only way forward, that's what happens. It's like what happened last night with the vice presidential debate, wasn't it? People making fun of Pence for having a fly on his head. The mechanics of a proper constructive debate have gone, and it's all about hatred. And then the alt-left start talking about how this white man wouldn't allow these women to speak, right? And this is what white men do, apparently, right? And this is what happens. This is what the conversation is now. So there's no political debate. It's just hatred. Hatred of men, hatred of women, hatred of black people, hatred of other minorities. That's what it's about now. There's no proper political debate. When I was growing up, at least we could debate about the positives and mostly negatives of Thatcher or Kinnock or Reagan or whoever he was going up against back then. It's changed. Politics isn't politics anymore. It's about hate versus hate. And they've done this on purpose so they don't have to stand up there. Trump is just a meme. I can't stand the bloke. I think he is brought so much hatred, not only to the political scene, but to the entertainment industry. And we've seen it. Look what they've done to the entertainment industry now. Ever since Trump's been in there, we're trying to represent women and minorities. How are they doing that? By reducing the quota of men and white people in entertainment and replacing them with minorities. That's not true representation, isn't it? True representation would be more minorities, but a place for everyone, rather than shrinking the stage for men and expanding it for other minorities. And then there's arguments. We've seen what's happened with Doctor Who and Star Wars and Star Trek. And the argument goes on, the debate over what's important, representation, inclusion, or a good story and a good film. Really, we should be able to have both. But because of Trump and because of what's happened, logic has gone out the window. And so we're all at each other's throats. And this is what Brett's saying. It's actually amazing how forward-thinking Batman versus Superman was. Batman versus Superman is a creature of its time, responding to what's going on with Trump. That's what it is. Batman and Superman are us. They are us. Instead of having a world of love and acceptance, it's become about, as I say, hate versus hate. And we're just the pigeons that they manipulate. Basically, they're the Pied Piper of the media, and they're on a wind-up constantly, all the time. And we fall for it. I used to fall for it. I still do sometimes. We're so easily manipulated. And we are heading to a place in my mind now that maybe we need to dismantle the democratic system, that maybe we need to look to something else now. Maybe the people need to run their own destiny. Maybe politicians have just gone too far now. We can never trust them again. Maybe it should be like the jury system, where every person takes it in turns in a group to be able to make the decisions for their local communities. Maybe that's the way to go, because this system isn't working. I don't really like Biden or Trump, to be honest with you. That's my opinion. I don't trust either of them. Obviously, Biden is the lesser evil, but at the end of the day, you see what I'm getting at. I apologise going into politics, but I think Batman versus Superman is political. This is why the film was rejected by a lot of people. Why did you go down this way? It's like The Last Jedi, isn't it? A lot of people rejected The Last Jedi. They didn't like the sentiments of, the anti-gun control and all that. There was some commentary on that, which people didn't like. The problem is when you get political. Now, I think it's interesting because with The Last Jedi, it tells you what side of the political conversation it's on. But Batman versus Superman is very clever. It doesn't actually do that. It just says, basically, this is how they manipulate people to fight and to hate. But ultimately, Batman versus Superman, having a mother, each having a mother with the same name, broke that agenda. Love will always win. That's what Batman versus Superman does. It tells you what's going on in the world. It uses a scenario, but it never tells you what side of that conversation it's on. That's interesting. That's clever. And that's more clever than The Last Jedi, that actually does pretty much tell you where they stand politically. And then you've got your fans. You've got your left fans, your right fans, and your moderate fans going, whoa, Star Wars are saying that. This is outrageous. When you show your political hand in entertainment, you start to lose people. The Last Jedi created a conversation, a convoluted, toxic conversation that didn't do the film any favours ultimately. Didn't make as much money, nowhere near the money that The Force Awakens did. It did its billion, just over $1 billion, but, look at the money that Awakens made. Awakens was just the rehash of A New Hope, but it worked. It worked because it brought Star Wars fans together again. And I believe what JJ would have done would have been an alignment with that first film. And this is the problem. But BVS is still a divisive film. It's as toxic as the conversations within the film. I think that's amazing. I think that's so amazing. And I thank Brett for his videos because he really is a voice of reason. As I say, you should continue to watch that video. I didn't want my video to go on too long and basically bore you. But basically what he's saying is amazing. We are Batman and Superman. We are being manipulated by Lex Luthor characters so we can fight. Isn't it time we stopped fighting? Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DC Multiverse Daily. See you again soon.